Hello everyone, it's Tonya with Scribbles in Time. I am back. It's been quite a while, and I've just completed my next journal. This will be going into my Etsy shop, and I do have quite a bit that I wanted. I know a lot of the people on YouTube are just kind of scrolling through watching for journals, and that's a lot of times all I have time to do myself, so I understand that. But then I do have some friends out there that I want to be able to give kind of updates on what's been going on, and it's especially for, you know, prayer warriors, and also a few updates on my Etsy shop, and a shout out. So what I've decided to do is kind of do this video in a little bit of some stages. The first thing I'm going to do is flip through this journal, and then I'm going to kind of go into the other stuff. But that way, anyone who just wants to watch a flip through of a journal, that's going to be first. And then, you know, that's done and over. And then if anyone wants to kind of hang around with me, and I'll kind of update you on some other stuff, I would love that too. So anyway, starting off, the name of this journal is called Holding On to What Matters. And to me, I'm going to kind of show you the picture. To me, so much of what's been going on in my life is causing me to have to stop and remember that, you know, there's things that truly matter, and we don't need to sweat the small stuff, because the small stuff is typically temporary, and we've just got to focus on stuff that really matters. So anyway, for me, that just, this evokes that thought for me, even the picture. So the title of this one is Holding On to What Matters. And it measures, it's 7 inches across here. I laid a ruler here just for, you know, just for a visual comparison. So it's 7 inches by 9 3/4 inches. And then it's about 2 3/4 inches thick. It's a little bit of a gator mouth. Let me show you the spine. I did the layered spine. Now this is an actual book spine. This is some old leather right here. And then there's another book spine back here, and then just all kind of different layers of different things in here. So I wanted to give it that grungy look. This kind of is the style of journals I like to do. Now this inside book here, just like all the others, if you've watched my other videos, I typically do writing journal on the inside of my covers, and then art journal as the main portion of the book. So yeah, I left this raggedy spine on this book just because I thought it added one more texture, one more layer. And I love layers and textures. Now, I didn't go very far on the embellishing on the front. I kept this one pretty simple because to me, this image just says it all. Beautiful image. Up here, I did put this rusty washer, and I stitched on this beautiful, like a polished stone. Anyone who knows anything, you know, who follows the minerals and stones and the crystals and all of that, might know that if there's a name for this. I did get this on a trip that we went to. We went into one of the shops that had the different crystals and all, but I don't know what that is. Is the lighting okay? I hadn't even thought about lighting. It's real early in the morning here. But anyway, so yeah, there's a rusty washer with a polished stone. And then, of course, some cardboard and different book covers. And these books are just old, falling apart kind of things. So I was able to take those apart and use them. You know, I have issues with breaking down old stuff like that. But these were already falling apart, which I loved. And then down here, there's just some little knots. I ran a piece of twine or maybe some really thin rope through this label, this metal plate here, and you'll see on the inside that you can barely see the rope back here, but I've knotted it on the front so that it shows, and then I use some thinner twine up here to on that polished stone. So I think that a lot of gesso and staining, and I have literally raw strings hanging out of this, strings hanging, you know, kind of everywhere. They can be snipped off. Now these, not so much. I actually incorporated these in with the layering of the spine. And then the back is just grunged up. Okay, I think I've rotated it pretty well to show all the different angles. I will say this, with this washer, the way I did that is I ran a hole through my actual book cover, and then on the back I stitched on this vintage button to kind of keep that secure there. So you'll see the vintagey button up there. Layers of fabric behind here. This is an old, it says good reading, 4th reader. And you'll see that the old spine is still barely hanging on. Don't know how long that'll make it. It can be reinforced with some little thin muslin or something there, but I liked it just the way it was. I wanted it to kind of flop like this. And then I've run my friend Dee. She had stitched some really cool stitching. I've talked about it before in other videos. So I ran a piece of that down the spine where I rebuilt this book here. This book, let's talk about this for a little bit. Let me move some stuff out of the way. Okay, so when you open the journal up, like I just said, this is the art section, and I did do a couple of paintings in here, but I still left plenty of room for someone to add their own art, whether it be collaging, gluing, whatever, you know, anyone enjoys sketching. We'll talk about that in a minute, but here is the journaling portion, and there are approximately 92 surfaces in this for either gluing, writing, collaging, whatever. Not a lot of art paper in this portion though. In fact, I don't think I put any actual art paper in this portion. This is all just the basic journal type paper. So here is the original inside cover of the book. I kind of grunged it up a little bit only because it was already grunged from being so old. And then I lined the inside of the spine with some muslin. It's also lined with some of the Tyvek on the inside just to help secure it, and that's what's got it kind of stiff. Over time it will loosen up. This is a flash card, and I hinged the flash card onto another flash card with a piece of muslin, and then used that as my spine to stitch it in. And then I did just my normal, what I enjoy doing, where I go through and add pieces of vintage fabrics to the flips as little tabs. These are some stamps that Emily sent me, and an old book page, a piece of lace. Make it a little bit better in frame. Okay, and again, this was a I think they're called like a wooden bottle cap here. I got that also from Emily. You'll see that stuff mentioned in the previous video where she and I did a swap. This is some like waxed or parchment paper, very crispy and crunchy and very grunged up, and obviously some music paper. This I love, love, love. It is a recipe page for a cookbook, and I have several of these, so I do plan on doing a cookbook. That's one of those projects I've been planning probably ever since I started making junk journals, and I don't know, I haven't started that project yet. It's one of those that's been building. I have a box of stuff that will be going into a recipe book. It's coming one day. This is like a embroidered applique flower that I've just kind of put up there as a tab with some paper to make this book page. The book page is very old, so I wanted to make it a little bit more durable for that to attach to as a tab. Emily made these little ruffles, so I used my last piece. I'm going to miss these. I used my last piece on this page right here, and very pretty. A little red bow, and this is on a business correspondence book page, so it just has like a cool print on it, the way it's broken up and done. It's not like a traditional, you know, book novel style page. I like that look. It just causes you to kind of do a second glance when you're looking at it. This page also folds out, and so I used a little flower there to as a tab. And then here is the center of the first signature. There's two signatures, and I used a page out of my Flowers and Fairies of Trees. I believe that's the name of the book. And then in the center of this one, I tied on a rusty, I think this is a spacer. So when the book is closed, you'll be able to see the things that are hanging out of these centers. Okay. These are the reverse pages of everything that we just went over. The only difference on most of these is just the different little things I've used as tabs. but the pages are just the reverse of the others. This is some really neat, it's like a sweater material. It's old, it's really cool, and it's just kind of like a little flip out there for journaling on. Some more beautiful lace there. Book page. This is the other side of that flashcard, and I just did a ticket as a tab on that page. Moving into the second journal, I started the journal out with another one of the book pages, and you can see a little, like a fairy up there on the tree, and then I guess fairies or elves or something around the woman there. I don't really know what the story was about. It's just a really cool picture in my opinion. But I did attach some really cool lace on the edge so that when it's laid out and the book is closed, that's poking out. And that, again, just draws your interest into the book. It makes you want to explore the book and see what's in there. So I love having a little personality poke out of a book. Okay, I also did a flashcard in this signature, some more journaling paper, and this is out of a mathematics book. I always love numbers on papers. That just to me is an attention grabber also. A ticket on the top of this time card, kind of as a tab, and it also just, you know, it adds visual interest, and then you can journal all back here, attach photos. This page actually flips out, and I put some lace down the edge of that. And then I just thought the blues looked so pretty here. On the other one, in the other signature, I know I pointed it out, but I used one of those little blue game pieces. Well, there it is. See, I just love drawing that blue out because this paper really is so pretty in person. It's just, yes. And then I used a blue bead in the center of this. It's really, really pretty. There is a bird. Let me see if I can get it up close. There's a bird in the center of that little bead. And so it also pokes out at the bottom as a charm. More writing paper. And then this is little old vintage fabric. I believe that is off of an old tablecloth. And then this is just, of course, the flip side of all of those pages. This is some more vintage fabric that I have. And that's stuck a little bit. Yikes. I hate it when that happens there. That's how it's stuck. Right there. I'll have to go back and fix that. But I better do it now or else. Well, I'll go back and fix it. I can't let myself forget. And then the back cover. I'm scared if I fix it now, the glue is going to end up doing the same thing. So I need to fix that and leave it laying separate. The inside of the book is the actual art section. And I put this beautiful vintage lace here. And I don't know if you can see on camera, but there's beautiful roses coming along that. Little strings are in here. So this is just really beautiful in person. I hope it shows up on camera well. Now, as I normally do, I've used all, you know, watercolor paper in this. And I've put some texture onto the pages using some other paper as well as some gesso and inks and stain. It can be left like this. It's really cool visually. But I always say you can gesso straight over this and sketch or paint. And you can even do it to where the pictures show through. I've shown it in other videos where I've done it in some of my journals that I've kept. And it's just, to me, when you're looking at, you know, artwork, you love the layering and the textures. So that's kind of what I'm trying to achieve with that. And then I've lined all the pages with some really cool fabric. This is a piece of really neat burlap that I've stitched onto a grungy piece of like muslin or cotton. And then this is one of the paintings that I've done in the journal, like a wheat field. If you've watched other things, you know I love wheat. To me, wheat is kind of a fall look. And we are coming up on spring, but I tried to add a touch of all seasons. I put, like this is very springy. The other picture that I did is like a, the other painting I did is like a summertime tree. So I've tried to just not make this any particular themed, seasonal style. The first journal, I've hung one of those, I'm not sure what it is. It's like a really, it feels like cork. This was I found a bunch of these in my father-in-law's. When he passed away, we cleaned out his workshop and found a bunch of these. I think it's a piece of cork, maybe for fishing. I don't know, but it's really cool. I use these as charms, and I still have, I don't know how many left, but I use them hopefully until they're gone. And then this is supposed to be like handmade watercolor paper, and of course I used acrylics for this painting, but I will say this, I don't like the way this paper takes water, because you really have to line everything really well. The water does want to bleed through. I didn't make this paper. The person I got it from says it's handmade watercolor paper, and it does accept paint really well, but I just don't like it with water when I do my own paintings in mine. I did use a little bit of the watercoloring back here in the background of this painting, and you can kind of see it's bled through. That wouldn't bother me, but if it does bother you, you can always gesso over that and then either paint or sketch. I don't think the water would go through as bad with gesso on there. This is that beautiful thin fabric that has a very spring look to it. And these, oh, I love this. Now I've stitched this on to the other side of this piece of burlap, but this is a really old tobacco bag, and it's so cool. It's never been used. And I put this beautiful, y'all, I have been hoarding this for a long time, not wanting to let go of it. I don't know if you can see the dots. It's just so delicate and dainty, but I had to use it in this journal because to me it just went perfect. In my mind's eye, this was her hanky. And anyway, I just love this journal, this hanky. And I tucked it down into this tobacco bag. I kind of wanted you to be able to see the tobacco bag. I'm not going to actually sell just the bags in my shop, but I'm probably going to do up a little listing and of some supplies, and I'll probably in a couple of the kits put one of the bags. I don't really have enough to sell like in a high quantity. And then I tucked this hanky in like that so that it's peeking out through the top. Obviously you can put tags with tabs or anything like that in there. I started to make like a baseboard to go in the book, but decided to use the hanky instead. But a baseboard could slide in there, which I call them press boards usually, but you use those to put behind your pages to bear down on. And more watercolor paper with the fabric, the beautiful lace. This is like a crocheted placemat, and what I've done is I've kind of attached it with buttons. I mean, I didn't attach it. I hooked the holes around buttons that are on this really cool button card. I believe Selena sent me this really cool button card, and I left it original because it still has the old tape on it, the string where the buttons were stitched on. Let me hold it up so you can see it really well. Those are like little metal brads that are holding that button card on, and it looks like two buttons were at some point removed, not by me, but you can just tell this is very old. And what I did is I just took some of the holes in this crochet dolly and just kind of looped them on the buttons to kind of pleat this together, and you know, just give kind of a visual of the buttons that are behind it. And then that way when you turn this page, it turns the dolly too. This is a smaller piece of the art paper, and then this is another painting that I did in this journal. Again, I used acrylics on this, but I thought this painting was so suited because there's like these green leaves here. Let me hold it up so you can see. And I just thought I wanted the green leaves and the leaves of a tree to really pop out. So this is the painting I did, the second painting I did, and the last one for this journal. And then I've got the material coming down here, and then this is a really old glass chandelier crystal, and I'm weird about it. I don't like breaking apart old stuff. This even still has the original real rusty wire on the top, so I just kind of looped it down and tied my string onto that. Obviously, if that bothers anyone, I mean, I love that look, but it could be removed and then the string ran through there and tied on. But I just wanted to keep that little piece of metal as it was. And then the other side of the card, again, I just ran some of the buttons through the crocheted piece there. Let me show you the buttons so that you can, you know, see what they look like. Very, very neat. It's so original, and it just gives you a good visual of something very old and original. Kind of hoop. There we go, like that. That's the back of the journal right there. And then I want to put this where I will not lose it so that I can go back and attach it to the page in there. I'll lay it right there like that. Okay. So that completes the journal flip through, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like this journal. Please let me know below. And now I want to kind of give you a little bit of an update. I'm going to try to get these items listed in my Etsy shop, hopefully today before this video even goes up. These are metal. They're kind of a bronzy, maybe brass, kind of a vintagey gold looking or brass looking. You can see that there are roses coming down on the back of them, and they're measured in centimeters. Each one is 10 centimeters on the ruler, and then they're actual bookmarks. I have a few with birds. I have a few with this flower, and then a few with these leaves. I am struggling with knowing which one's my favorite, but I think it's going to be between the leaves or the bird. I think for a fall journal, I would probably go with the leaves, and then spring and summer, a bird. But anyway, I'm going to try to get those listed in my Etsy shop. If you're interested in one of these and I don't have them in my shop yet, please just message me on Etsy. I'll put my link below. I am Scribbles in Time on Etsy. But message me on Etsy and let me know. And if I don't have them listed, I can, you know, create a listing at that point. I'm going to try to get that done today. I also have these. These looked, to me, these had the look of optical lenses, but they're not. They're actual magnifying glasses, and they're on a charm. I have a few of these, and I want to be, let's see. So they definitely look very old, but some of them, I don't know if you can see the little bitty chip. Like they're, how do I say it? They're just not perfect, but they're really cool. And I think they're just so cool to even tie to the center of one of the signatures, or add on as a charm, or when you have a wrap that's coming around a book, you know, to have it kind of hanging on the outside of a book. If you have one of the ties coming around it, it can be attached onto a page to, you know, magnify something that, you know, a number or anything like that that you're wanting to magnify, and attach it to the page over it. They're just really pretty to me. This is, I have so much other stuff I'm going to try to get listed, but I wanted to just point out a few things. And again, if I don't get around to listing them today, just reach out and message me if anything interests you. This is like a reproduction compass, but they have, what I love so much about these is they have the Robert Frost poem on the inside. The Road Not Taken is the poem on the inside. I would really encourage you to pull up and read that. It's just the meaning of that to me is very pretty. But it's just a compass. They are made to look very old. I don't even really know if they work. I sit and held them. I'm not a compass person. I'm not going to try to pretend like I am. I just think they're cool. Okay. I also wanted to kind of mention so what's taken me quite a while to be able to get back onto Etsy and Facebook is something that happened more in my dad's life than mine. But most of you, if you've watched my videos, you've heard me talk about before that my dad has a lung disease. And so here recently, his readings have just been, he's been elevated to a point where he has to be on a fair amount of oxygen. And several weeks back, he was involved in a really horrific head-on collision. It wasn't, his fault or anything. The other driver was driving impaired. He was a young guy. He apparently lived out of his car, he and his dog. And anyway, it was a horrific head-on collision. My dad's truck flipped. He was trapped in the truck. But to me, the miracles that prevailed were so evident that I wanted to share the story. I'm kind of private. I'm not somebody that posts a lot on Facebook and that kind of thing. Now, for those of you who are on my Facebook, my personal Facebook page, my daughter did share the story and she shared it on my page. But otherwise, I haven't really talked any, spoke of it. But to me, the miracles were so obvious that I wanted to share the story very quickly. It won't take but a minute, but if you can hang in there with me, I'd love for you to hear it. So yeah, my dad, the amount of oxygen that he's now on, his on a setting that he's on, his oxygen tank typically lasts, it depends on his setting in that moment, but typically an hour to an hour and a half. He was about 25 minutes into his ride to his destination when the accident happened, which means he had probably about an hour or less of oxygen left in his tank. And that's when the accident happened, and the truck was flipped in a way that he was trapped inside of the truck, completely wedged in. All he could move was his fingertips, but he was trapped. Somehow, through all of that, his oxygen cannula never came out of his nose. And again, we're talking tanks that would have killed him if they would have hit him in the head. These are big, big, big tanks full of, they're heavy. They're like stainless, heavy tanks. Somehow, through the flipping of the truck, the tank never hit him. His oxygen cannula stayed in his nose, which is in and of itself a miracle. The tank not hitting him, everything in that was a miracle. But through all of that, he never panicked. At one point he could smell smoke and he could hear the wires crackling in his dashboard. So it was not a, it was a scary experience for him. But through it all, he said he felt very calm. He does remember going in and out of consciousness a little bit. But the paramedics got there. They had to use the jaws of life to get him out. His oxygen never ran out until the minute that they got him out and got him into the ambulance. The oxygen quit. Somehow that tank, it took the witnesses that it happened, in their front yard that were watching the whole thing unfold, said it took around 45 minutes from the time of the accident to get him out. So just the fact that he never ran out of oxygen and his cannula never came out of his nose, the fact that he survived such a horrific crash, all of that's a miracle, and I'm so thankful. And I wanted to share that, but also, so several years ago, I went to the Holy Land. I went to Jerusalem. I was so blessed to get to do that. I have told that whole story before because that was soul changing for me. And if you go back and watch, it's one of my very first videos. I'll try to post, I'll try to remember to post, because I have a lot of new subscribers since my first videos. So I'm sure many people have not watched that, but I'll try to post the link below. I think it's called like my Chunk of Love journal. But it was truly the first official journal that I ever made. And I did a whole, little flip through of that. And I talked about the trip to Jerusalem. But one of the things that we did while we were in Jerusalem, we had bought these olive tree crosses. And we had them blessed on the, the location where they believed to be the exact spot where Jesus was born. But we had them blessed there. And I gave one to my dad. And my dad kept this cross on his sun visor over, his driver's seat. And he was on his way to a wildlife rescue center that he and his wife, or more so his wife, volunteers at. And so they were almost there. And so the wildlife people had, obviously heard all the commotion. They came to the scene because they recognized on their scanner the description of the vehicle. So they came to the scene and were there when the tow people got the truck flipped over. Somehow, this was the only thing that flew out of my dad's truck. There was nothing else seen on the ground there except this. This was embedded in the mud directly underneath the cab, where when the truck was flipped over, this was just embedded there. Now, the people didn't know this belonged to my dad, but they thought that was just such a unusual thing to see in the mud right underneath the cab of the truck. So they picked it up, and I live in Georgia. My dad lived in South Carolina, and I immediately, when I got off work and found out it had happened, we just drove straight there, straight to the Charleston area. And so when we met with the people who had witnessed the accident, we rode on down to the wildlife reserve and visited with them. And the lady she said, "Oh, I want you to see what we found under the truck." And she pulled this out, and she had already cleaned all the mud off of it. But she pulled this out, and I literally just started squalling. My husband was with me. He teared up. It was just, y'all, the miracles were something I wanted to share. To me, this is such a little testimony in itself. And so, yeah, my dad is living with me now, and temporarily, probably, we're for sure temporarily. He has his own life he wants to get back to, but it's probably going to be quite many months of that. But I would love and appreciate prayers for both he and his wife. And anyway, I thank you all for listening. If you hung in with me, I just really wanted to share that story for my close friends that are on here. And one other thing I want to share is right when I got home with my dad, this sweet, sweet lady, and so many have sent me gifts. There's only a few, literally a handful of people that I've let know about this in my crafting world. Obviously, Dee is one of my very best friends, and she has, in so many ways lifted me through this change of my life and this scary time. When I got there to get my dad, he had lost 45 pounds, and his oxygen levels were not great. He's improved so much. He's doing really much better. You can probably hear him back there coughing in the background. Sorry if that's an interruption, but it is, it is what it is. But when I got home, literally from going to get him, I had this box, and this lady had been telling me she was sending me a Happy Mail gift, and I appreciate that so much. And but the timing of this, y'all, the timing of this was just such a special timing for me. And so I really wanted to take a minute and say thank you to her. I did tell her about the situation. And y'all, she has really cool stuff. So she does have an Etsy shop. I'm going to post the link to that below. She actually sent me this little note that she cut up some doilies because she had heard me say, uh-oh, my dog's going to bark. She had heard me say how much I hate cutting up original pieces. So she did that for me. But she does have an Etsy shop. The name of her Etsy shop is called Me and My Son Treasures. And Sarah, thank you for this. As you can hear, so I have my dad's 2 dogs. And so, yeah, we have some doggies barking in the background. So I'm going to cut the video short. Or not short, this is actually long. We're at 34 minutes now. So thanks for hanging in there with me, everyone. And y'all have a blessed day.